This is Daf Yom Yerushalmi Kilayim. In the article Oz Bahar edition, we are on Samachem Aleph, the third line. Hamasachet Gafno Shel Chavero Al Gabe Tvuaso Shel Chavero, and that is in the Vilna Daf Lamed Daled Amid Aleph. It's the 1 to 6th line down. Okay, I took your grapevine and put it over your over your grain. Okay, so what's the halacha? Yeah, Shmini Me'ada. That's a mirror. I'm Rabbi Yosef. Ma'aseh Bechad Shazaras Karmo B'Shvius. This episode happened with somebody who planted grain in his vineyard in Shemitah. It's not his. Neither of them are his. And of course, the Shvius doesn't belong to him. You can't make us something which is not yours. The grapevine doesn't belong to you, and the grain doesn't belong to you. The itasavt. So the tasav means it was rejected. The statement of Rabbi Akiva. The Moshe says by Rabbi Yossi. Yeah. So our Mishnah said, Rabbi Yossi, Ma'aseh Bechad, this is our Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi, Ma'aseh Bechad Shazar Kamas Kam Shvis, Ma'aseh Merkiva, Eno the Makdish Tova Sheino Shalom. So Rabbi Yossi seems to agree with Rabbi Akiva about this. So the actually, what it means is that Rabbi Yossi brings this down as a tshuva to Rabbanan. So the name Moshe says, "I feel haki hushva tshuva zu may Rabbi Yossi from Rabbi Yossi litanakama the Poligolei who argues in him. Shema minod Rabbi Yossi Polig apagafno shulchavero gabe tvosu shulchavero." So if Rabbi Yossi and our Mishnah brought this down as evidence that Enodam Moshe Davar Shelo as a raya to his position, it must be Rabbanan argue and hold that that this case is a case in which it becomes asur. Now, why it becomes asur is a separate question. Because it could become asur because, like Rabbanan hold, Adam Moshe Davar Shelo, right? But it could also be that it belongs to nobody. Since it belongs to nobody, so it becomes asur because I can't ask for something which is not mine and is yours. But perhaps I can ask for something which is not mine, but it is hefker. In any event, halacha it's a moot point because halacha we paskin like Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon and like the Horah of Rabbi Akiva that ein adam oiseh davar she'eino shalom. Rambam paskins that way in Perikei of Kilayim halacha ches. So therefore, the Maisa it doesn't make enough kamina. The person can't answer that which is not his, and even Rabbi Akiva's chiddush is that even something which is not his and nobody else's, in other words, Shemitah is also part of Enodam Mosu Dover Sheno Shalom. But Rabbanan hold, maybe the Rabbanan would agree with this case, maybe not, but Ramaisu Paskin, Rabbi Yosef Shimon, and Rabbi Akiva in this respect. Okay, halacha dalit. Hanatz shezora es hakeren. If you have a person who stole a field and then planted it, stole a vineyard and then planted grain in it, V'yotzim ilfonav, and then he left. The Gazlan abandoned the field. Kotzro afilu b'moed. So you could harvest it even on Chol Moed. The Pnei Moshe explains Kotzro is afilu b'moed afagav danos lo asar. Even though the Gazlan didn't answer it, they had done makdish Tova Sheino Shelo. Our Mishnah is obviously going to Yossi and Shimon of the previous Mishnah. Kokol Nevesim Yosifu Masayim La'achish Chazar Bailim Makadish. But there's a danger that it's going to add 200 after the Bailim comes back. So 200. So then 200th after the Bailim come back, it's Makadish. So therefore, it's like a Dovra Oved, which is and he can be cut on Yontif. Akamonos in the Pauling. So how much we require him to pay? That was basically we're requiring him to do Chol because we don't want it to come to a situation where it's going to grow 1 to 100 to become usher. And so okay, so we require him to hire workers. How much does he have to pay for the workers if they charge more? It's overtime. Chol Actually, up to a third of their normal wages. Yosemikan, if it's more than that, Chachamim were not much reaction. They didn't make him harvest early. He can go and harvest normally after Yontif. Nikra Anos. From when is the field called belonging to the Anos? In other words, that the Anos actually therefore can cause it to become Kilayim. So what is that? So the Mishnah says Mishi Yishka. And the Moshe explains Shema Bailam in Akarim when the name of the Bailam is forgotten from the Karim, because Nikral Shema Nos, and everybody knows it as that Goslin's Karim. Those who Kishalo, and then it's regarded as his, and he can actually cause it to be true Kilayim. Says Gemara Baba Yaakov B'Shem Yaakov said Kini Mas Nisa. This is the way to learn the Mishnah. Mutar Kotzer Afilu B'Moed. So you're allowed to harvest it even on Chol Moed. So the way Reb Chaim explains it here, says allowed to harvest in Chol Moed because of Marasayin, that they shouldn't say that you planted Kilayim, and nevertheless, because out some reason when Mati you plant no. So once they said it's mutter, if you don't harvest, so then, so the Mekayim Kilayim. Had they not been Mati to harvest, it wouldn't become usher, right? If you got the can back on Chol Moed, because what's he supposed to do, right? He's not allowed to be koitzer. But since Chazal said it's mutter for him to be koitzer, so therefore he's got a problem, right? Then that makes it that if he doesn't not koitzer, it seems that it's going to be that he's the nichole, that it's being moisif, he's being mekayim the kilayim, and therefore it'd be usher. So therefore, when Yosef says kini masisa mutter koitzer afil moed, that's why he must harvest it. So a common in the polim at shlish, up to a third over the normal price. And when a roshesh chadamar shlish l'schar, he says that you give another third than their normal wages, and that's charana amar chadamar shlish l'schar v'charana amar shlish ledomim. You give them up to a third of the over the value of the value of the field, the value of the kerem. So if the camera is worth $600, you have to pay the pauline up to $200. Memasani Kuranas, Mishishka, Rabbi Achan Ishtako Bailim Nois Yashu Bailim. Well, if they forgot, if the name of the owner has been forgotten, people do no longer call it by name, original owner. But Loni Siyayish Bailim, if we didn't have hope, Isuro Dvar Torah. Then the Isser is the Bar Torah, meaning it makes claim to Raisa. Even though the Bible didn't give up hope. We're going to explain this. Conversely, if the owner did give hope, but it didn't, it didn't, the name had not yet changed. Yisur Medivreim. It's Kilayim, but only Midrabana, not Midraisa. So, I want to ask, I don't understand. What are you talking about? Land is not stolen. Land always belongs to the owner. So what use is there involved? How possibly use be an issue here? So the Gemara says, Afalpi Shein Kaka Nigzal, even though land cannot be stolen, this can't be uprooted and removed, and therefore it doesn't have a true Gzela issue. Nevertheless, Yesh Lakarka. So the Chaim says Yesh Karka is Midrabanan. They said, even though there's no kinyan gzela in karka, but nevertheless the use works. So really, the ikar is nishtaku. That's really what causes the kilayim. Again, kilayim is all based on, we have said numerous times, on what it looks like. If it looks like this guy's land, because everybody forgot it was the other guy's land, so then it's this guy's land for the purpose of kilayim, and therefore his planting grain in the middle of the vineyard is going to aser midoraisa. The use thing means even though Midaraisa can't answer because it says this, he can't answer because it's still regarded as the first fellow's karka. But since the owner was Misyoish, so therefore Midrabanan, they said, there's some level on which it belongs to the new guy, to the goslin, and therefore he can make a kilayim drabanan. Can't make kilayim deraisa, make kilayim drabanan. Okay, says the Mishnah. Haruach shi'ulas gefanim agabe tvua. You have a wind which pushed the grapevines over grain. So yigdar miyad, you should pin them back. In order they shouldn't go back and again. Okay, the first time, what are you supposed to do? But to make sure there's no second time. The ira ones, if some had extenuating circumstances, it wasn't able to build a fence quickly, mutter, it remains mutter. If you have on the conversely, you have a grain which is inclined underneath a grapevine, became yerek, and so to vegetables. Marzir, you remove it from being there. You make it go back the other way. Vein Makadish. It doesn't make it to Kilayim. Meimasai Tvua Miskadeshes. From what point does a grain become capable of becoming usher? Does on account of Kilayim? Misha Tashlish. When it becomes a third of its growth, because then it's called the third of growth of grain is what you consider to be royal achila. Conversely, when they're the size of a white bean, because they're considered then to be true grapes. The grain which is totally dry, it's not growing anymore; it's totally dry. And grapes which are completely mature, they're not growing anymore. And miskachos, then it can't become kilayim. It's also to leave them that way, right? But they only cause kilayim if they add 1/200th of their growth in unison. So here, they're not growing. So if they're not growing, they can't become kadosh, meaning can't become aser banoah like as kilei kerem. Okay, it says Gemara, u'keben azai yisaper. Well, Yisaper normally means the barber, right? He should cut he has to cut off the leaves which were inclined over the grapevine leaves which went over the grain. Ashketai Rabbi Akiva Omer Yachzir, and we found a brisa like this. Rabbi Akiva is like our Mishnah says Yachzir. Ben Azai Yisaper. Ben Azai says you have to cut him up. Okay, Just a second here. So, but I should make this is. I think I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake, but I didn't say it clearly enough. Because the Reb Chaim used the word alim, which is it's not really leaves. It's the grain, the grain stalks, which go underneath the grapevine. The Bnei Moshe makes it clearer. Moshe says, again, as a sapra tuashi noitataras, again, guys going on the grain underneath the grapevine. The Hamasisa Maxir, Mishnah says you put it back. Then as I told you, sapra misprime, you have to cut off with the scissors, mash noitataras, again, that which inclines on the grapevine. Ashkan Bryce, let me find the Bryce of this machlokes between Rabbi Akiva, who is the author of our Mishnah, and Ben Azai. Okay, now the Gemara said Misha Tashlish. Me'emasai miskadesh Misha Tashlish. East Tani Misha Tashrish. Those who say Misha Tashrish when it gets rooted. Man detana. Now here the Moshe and Reb Chaim changed the girsa. Man detana Misha Tashrish. Messiah Rabbi Yochanan. Man damar Misha Tashlish. Messiah Rabbi Yoshia. And he brings down here. And the Bnei Moshe Pluto Rabbi Yoshia Rabbi Yochanan El Beperik Hey Allah Zayin. The Machlokes previously, Shaman, that which it says as a Reb Siarta Ruach Lefanav, you planted, and the you're planting in the ground, and the wind swept away the seeds you were planting into the vineyard. Ima Savim Yufach, the if it grows into grass, you have to uproot it. And there, because the Kamar Rabbi Yoshe Basavim Hakol Mutar, like Yoshe says that but if it's grass, it's all mutar. Even though it already took root. Because obviously grass grew. Nevertheless, it's not also until it's a third. Because and according to him, the gears also here is until it grows a third. Rabbi Yonah holds it's already also in the grass stage. Since the zera took root underneath the grapevines, or amongst the grapevines, so he goes also here and says it should be Ache Tashrish. Okay, next issue. Hillel, see the Chsib Utfuas HaKerem. It says Utfuas HaKerem, and Utfuas HaKerem, the Pnei Moshe already explained in the Mishnah. He says that no, he doesn't explain the Mishnah. The Chaim explains Tvuas HaKerem Kodesh Yatsu Kapur Lavan and Takralim Tvuas HaKerem. They're not called the produce of the vineyard until they're at least that size. Okay, now the Kini Maslisa and Miskachos. So when you say the Anamikachos, it's that it sounds like they're not Anamikachos. Sorry, it means that they don't become usman themselves, meaning that since they're the ones which are not adding anymore, they don't become Kilei Kerem. But if the grapes, which are fully ripe and stop growing, are in the proximity to grain which is still growing, so the grain will come so if it grew 1/200 of its growth in the proximity to the grapes, even though the grapes themselves can't become aser, and vice versa as well. If the grain is completely dry, not growing anymore, it can't become aser, and miskachos. But if the grapes next to it grow additionally to 1/200 of the growth, so then they can become aser as a result. So it's enam miskachos, but they could be mikachos. I see the article also changes mishatashlish, mishatashvish inside the text. Okay, be as it may, we are at halacha vav, which is way down on Samach Vav Marav, so we certainly should stop here.